Thank you. But you're not so happy, you're concerned about the new regulations. What is your main concern as the Law Society?
I think that there are two concerns, as we have flagged in our statement. The principal problem has been that the regulations and the Act were brought into operation with considerable haste, perhaps overdue haste. Mm-hmm. And so there have been a number of reports in the press, much as we had predicted, where people who were waiting, for example, for the results of their permit applications, foreign nationals, and who travel, and I've been told you can't come back into the country because your permit in the meantime has expired or your visa has expired. Mm-hmm. So you're now having couples, families being separated. And so there have been press reports, and I believe there's a matter in the Cape High Court in the next day or two about this issue. Mm-hmm. So you're having, because of this rush with which the legislation started up, the previous penalty for overstaying was you got a fine.
Yes.
Then they scrapped the fine. So on Friday the 26th, you would find. On Monday, if you had not paid, if you had overstayed, you weren't allowed back into the country. Mm-hmm. So you had this very sudden introduction of this new measure, and as I say, it has caused chaos. The other major issue has been that in many respects the regulations were incomplete. And
incomplete in what sense?
Well, for example, if you are looking to start a business in South Africa, you must invest a prescribed amount of money or show that you have a prescribed amount of money to bring into the country. Currently, well, until the 26th of May, the amount was 2.5 million rand. The new regulation says that the amount is to be determined by the Director General or by the Minister. That hasn't happened. Mm-hmm. So no one knows what the new target is. And I mean, we're sitting with clients who want to apply, but don't know what amount they must provide. Similarly, if you are looking to retire in the country, you must show a prescribed minimum income. Mm-hmm. The income hasn't been disclosed. We have no idea what the income level is. Another important area is with work permits, where we are supposed to, or applicants are supposed to show that they have obtained the approval of the Department of Labour for their application. And we don't know what the Department of Labour's requirements are. Those haven't been published. Mm-hmm. So that we're told that in terms of these kind of missing bits and pieces, the Minister will be issuing gazettes the course of this week, which may fill in some of the more temporary issues. But there are, as I say, there are substantive issues. I mean, another one, for example, is that as of last Monday, all South Africans, all persons coming into the country with children, the children must have unabridged birth certificates. So if you go overseas and you come back from a holiday, and your child has a passport, the child must now have a birth certificate, because apparently the passports aren't reliable, but the birth certificate is. It's odd because press reports will tell you that you can buy a false birth certificate for 150 rand.
I tell you.
So the reliance on the birth certificate is going to cause hardship, because there are people out of the country now who don't know that's the requirement to come in.
Now, you did indicate that the Minister might release some gazettes in the coming weeks. So is your concern sort of a bit preemptive, you think?
No. In terms of the missing bits of the regulations, those gazettes should fill in those gaps. But the substantive issues are like the introduction of the new sanction for overstaying, the requirement of birth certificates for foreign nationals, for foreign national children, or any child, even a South African child, must have a birth certificate. So those are the more substantive issues. And we suspect that there will be litigation on these issues. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, the regulations weren't consulted, they didn't consult as widely as we had expected. Mm-hmm. They had undertaken to consult with NADLAC, they had undertaken to consult with Parliament, and that didn't happen. What
impact will this now have? We talked about business, where people can't invest right now because they're not certain. Will that have a direct impact on foreign direct investment, perhaps?
Well, let me say this, speaking personally, in the last 10 days, I've had two companies who have come to me to say that not knowing where the goalposts are forcing them now to relocate to Mauritius. So you have sort of two kind of categories of companies. There are those who are looking to invest in Africa, and they want Johannesburg for its infrastructure. They want Johannesburg because they have to be here.
As a base.
Yeah, but there are others who can be based anywhere. And we're facing competition from the likes of Mauritius, the Seychelles, even Namibia, who are offering expedited permit processes to say permits are the least of your problems. You want to come and work here, you want to set up your offices here, we'll make it easy for you. Permits won't be a problem. Here we're having problems. Now I understand that there's also a security concern. We can't have sort of people kind of strolling in, but I think we're finding the wrong balance at this point.
Have you engaged government on this issue? Because you said there was no communication prior to the legislation coming out. In a press statement, one of his various interviews the minister gave last week, he indicated that he accepted that there were potentially problems with some of the regulations, and he certainly intimated his door would be open to taking representations, and we certainly intend taking up that opportunity. There was also reports that you want to litigate maybe the regulations. Are you going to sue the government?
No, that was a statement issued by let's call it the immigration agent profession, not by the organised legal profession. We have no plans to litigate on the issues.
So what's the next step forward then, engaging with the government?
We would hope so, yeah, engage the government and hope they will listen to us and organised business in particular.
Now for people in limbo currently in South Africa, what do they do, foreigners that's in the country?
People who have, for example, have applied for their permits and haven't received them back, and if they need to travel, the best thing is not to travel, because they face exclusion. If they come back in, they'll be declared undesirable and won't be allowed back in. So, I mean, again, we've had, we've had to advise clients that don't travel at this point in time. Wait until your permit is received. You're then legal. Then you can travel. But this new measure has been problematic.
Chris, thank you so much for coming in and joining us in the studios. Thank you so much. That was Chris Waters from the Law Society. Now, there's some comments around this issue on Twitter, so let's take a look at what you have to say online. Let me see if I can read this from here. The closest one to me is this one here. It says from Sami Mkwabe, the immigration reform is long overdue. Expats in South Africa might suddenly feel inconvenienced, but such is life, says Kigaba. Next one here, I'm an African. I hear Kigaba wants to send Zimbabweans home after their permits expire, and we want to talk about African Union. I give up on my country, says I'm an African. Just Referred says, Kigaba stands by controversial new visa regime, South Africa, but LIY. And then, of course, King Ace says, or Longwabo Ngongozo, that's true, and Kigaba was great in that department, and it seems like he'll be just fine for this one too. Alexander Pirovit says, now I see, Kigaba, there are millions that have overstayed since 1652. Gee, 1652, that's dating back quite a while, and they're undesirable. Pity, they are paying taxes, hey? Says Alexander Pirovit. Matshidiso Madia says, speaking of economic migration, says people come here claiming there's violence in their home countries, blames a lack of framework. That's from Matshidiso Madia. Now, these are some of your comments on the Twitter page. You can keep them coming on, of course, the Twitter page, the SABC Twitter page at SABC News Online. So keep them coming and we'll read some of your comments during the course of this program. Right now, let's move on to other news.